October Friends of Shades Creek meeting. And we have Jane Reed Ross with us. And Henry Hughes is here, our executive director. Say something, Henry.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming.
We're glad you could join us tonight. Have just a few little things to run through. And I do want to ask everyone if you could mute again. That way we won't have any background noises once we get started. We do have the chat window open and Henry is going to be monitoring that. So if you have any questions, you can write them there. If there's something that needs to be answered right away, then he can interrupt. Otherwise, we'll wait until the end of the meeting to go through the questions. So the first thing I want to mention is that we had a winning entry. Jane's husband, Neil, did a cooking demonstration. Jane was in the demonstration having a glass of wine with her husband for just a moment. It was a great video and we won. He did it for Friends of Shades Creek at the Fry Down, the virtual Fry Down. And we were the winner of the best presentation. So that's really cool. It had to be how the dish was presented, if it had all, yummy and looking ingredients and it was placed in a good way, and the presentation of cooking, it was also appealing. So that was our winning entry for that. And then we also had honorable mention for, let's see, I have to look at this, most entertaining. And Neil was very entertaining. I'm ready to try his recipe, in fact. So congratulations, Neil and Jane and our group, Friends of Shades Creek, for a winning entry. You can still see it out on the Fry Down website, the Fry Down site, which is part of Cahaba River Society. Just put in Cahaba River Society and you'll see Fry Down at the top. And then you'll be able to see all the entries, and ours is called Friends of Shades Creek. So look for it. It's great. Then the other thing I want to mention is our Shades Creek cleanup. We've had a lot of people want to help with the cleanup. We've had 20 people so far, and I think, I forgot to count the latest, but we've had, I think, 9 or 10 teams that have participated so far. And we've had more people than that because we had Grant Gentry's class at Sanford. They participated this past weekend. So actually it's probably more like 30 people. And we have some more people that have signed up. So if anyone wants to still sign up, we have extended the cleanup until I think it's, October 25th. So you still have time. And if you sign up, you get one of these bags, backpack. I know it's a small screen. You get a bottle of water and you get reusable gloves. They make great gardening gloves. And you can have a t-shirt and a calendar. So if you haven't already helped with our cleanup, our virtual cleanup this year, there's still time until October 25th. So I think that's all I have. Henry, do you have anything that we need to mention? Oh, I know, we do have one other thing. The Sims Garden Fall Pumpkin and Mum Sale is still going on. And Amy, who is just here helping us with the technical issues of our presentation tonight, is heading up that effort. And she is the caretaker at the gardens. It's from 10 to 6, I think, daily, I should say. So just go by. I got one of her beautiful mums. It looks lovely. And I got one of her pumpkins too. And she is still selling.
Several.
There she is, Amy. Say something.
Hey, we have a fresh crop of heirloom pumpkins that got delivered today from Michigan. And then we have plenty of mums. So, and lots of jack-o'-lanterns. So come on by. We also have a scarecrow trail. You can vote on the scarecrow that you like the best. Each scarecrow was made by my neighbors. mostly children. So they are coming over every day and counting up the votes. So definitely come by, make them happy, and help me get rid of all these pumpkins.
And give us your address.
Oh, it's 913 Irving Road is where the parking lot is. So I'll just leave it there.
And if you know where Homewood Middle School is, it's very near Homewood Middle School. So you can, if you're coming from Oxmoor Road, you go up Mecca and then turn on Irving. So I got one of the mums, and it is just now opening up really big. It is gorgeous. So anyway, now, Henry, do you have anything we should mention before we?
No, I think you covered it well, Michelle. Kristen Backergard says congratulations to everybody. That's our first chat comment. So
Very good. Thank you, Kristen. And I think we are ready to toss it over to you, Jane. This is Jane Ree Ross, and I'll let you introduce yourself, how long you've been a landscape architect, and just tell a little bit about your school. And I know you got some of your inspiration from Dr. Jim Brown. So,
Right, yes.
and he's trying to listen. He wanted to listen to this. They are camping right now, and he said that the campground says Wi-Fi, but they can't make it work. And so he's glad we're recording this.
Oh, good, good. Because I would love to mention Jim Brown because early on, as you mentioned, I'm a landscape architect. I've been working for 38 years now. It's amazing, almost 40. But I started my education at Sanford, across the street from Shades Creek. And I had Jim Brown for classes, and he inspired me to transfer to Auburn and study landscape architecture and design of public spaces. So thanks, Jim Brown, for putting me on that path, no pun intended, ha ha ha. And little did I know that I would end right back in this neighborhood and have the fortunate opportunity to design trails and public spaces in the metropolitan area. So thank you for that. It's something I enjoy and love to do, and just feel so privileged that I've been able to work on so many projects. But tonight we wanted to give you an update of the Shades Creek Greenway and where we're going. And then we'd like to give you a little history of where we've been and the path that this project has taken. It's more like a saga. And after we're finished, you'll understand that. But with us tonight is Councilor Jennifer Andres. Jennifer, you want to say a quick hello?
I do, and I just want to thank everyone for having me. You know, I love this organization, and I just feel I feel so privileged to use this trail almost on a daily basis and have direct access to the person who created it. I can't tell you how meaningful that is for me in my life, to have such direct access to the visionary behind this trail that brings so much joy to me and my friends and family. So I just want to say that.
Thanks for that, Jennifer. And you're going to some of the details of where we're going and what we're doing now and future projects as well. Y'all see on this screen here, can everybody see my cursor going down the trail here? So, okay, great. This is Lake Shore right here. Here's Sanford University. Across the street is Homewood High School. Down here is Brookwood Mall and Brookwood Hospital. And then down this way, there's Green Springs that turns into Columbiana Road. And then here's I-65 and then Wildwood here. So we all know phase 1 of the Shades Creek Greenway. This is phase 1 right here. That's in green. That's what's built. And it goes under Columbiana Road, under the bridge there. Phase 2 will start at that point and head west and go under I-65 behind Wildwood and end up at the end of Wildwood, where there'll be a trailhead and parking at the western end of that. And then phase 3, there will be a segment that goes along where the Jefferson County Environmental Services is, and then back up to the tip of this phase 2, or the trailhead. It will go north, and there'll be a flyover, Lakeshore Drive, and then connecting with John Carroll's eastern side of John Carroll High School campus, and then connect up with West Homewood Park. So those are basically the 3 phases. And Jennifer is going to tell us a little bit about where we are with phase 2 and when we will take that phase to bid.
So I'll just put the bad news out there first. We had to delay a fiscal year. So we just started our next fiscal year, and we did not budget for phase 2 in this year due to a few factors, primarily COVID. We really felt like we had to ask all of our department heads and everyone to really cut back on any spending at all until we have some more security with what things are going to look like. We think we're going to be fine by the end of this year. We anticipate we're trending back up, and we think we're going to have a nice recovery. However, we didn't feel secure enough to budget for phase 2 this year. And at the same time, I know you've heard about the Diverging Diamond project, which is I-65 Lakeshore intersection. That project has been talked about for years before my time on the council. And we would be at the time, we were going to be the first in Alabama to have that Diverging Diamond project. And then that, we are, Jane can attest, we are oftentimes at ALDOT's discretion. We're at their mercy as far as their timing goes. And so we fell off their radar for that. And then at the last minute, it was in the summer, ready to go with Diverging Diamond. So after years and years and years and years, they came and said, okay, we're ready to go. And, we're going to need $3 million right now. So that was kind of shocking. It may be a little bit more. I can't remember the exact price tag. It's all worked out in that we have been able to divide that payment to ALDOT into 2 payments. So we've got one this fiscal year and one the next fiscal year. So that's very helpful. But that project is about to move forward. So that project, I believe, is going to, what would you say, Jane? Not bid. It's not going to bid by the end of this year. It's going.
The Greenway?
No, the Diverging Diamond.
Yeah, I'm not part of that project.
I was just good, the language. I think it was. I don't want to say it's going out to bid.
Has it been designed?
We'll be moving by the end of this year on the Diverging Diamond in the preliminary aspects of that project. However, I did speak with Barry, one of my co-counselors on the finance committee tonight before this presentation, just to confirm we are going to hit the ground running at the next fiscal year, which would be October 1 of next year. So we are delayed a year, but we will hit the ground running in October of 2021. So that's the bad news, but it's coming.
It's coming, yeah. Rome was not built in a day. And certainly the Homewood Shades Creek Greenway was not either. So as we will see in the next part of the we've been through a lot of hurdles. This is just another one, and it's
And I will say, Jane, the one thing that Barry brought to my attention that I was not considering also that was part of the consideration was the construction project at the apartment complex. She felt, in the finance committee felt, as we were putting the budget together, that would buy us a massive apartment complex that's being built at the western end there.
That's right.
So that did a little bit play into their decision making as well.
And that's great that residential project is occurring. She's talking about right here. It used to be retail, and now it's going to be residential. So that makes a great trailhead. And the residents that live there will really enjoy this feature, and will one day be connected to, hopefully, with the park to the north and the rest of the trail and all that brings, all that connectivity. let's move forward. So that, the Greenway and the creek, the Greenway is so important because it makes the creek accessible and it helps people become aware of the creek and protect it. And that's one of the great things about trails, is that it connects people with the creek and makes them more aware of it and protect it and clean it up. And here's pictures of the community coming together, walking the trail, planting trees. Here's Betsy Dobbins. Here's some of the friends of Shades Creek, Henry and others. This is a cleanup that we host every year. Here's another with all the kids, Phil's with the kids here. And Betsy's planting trees. We've had a wonderful partnership with Sanford University and the Homewood Environmental Commission, which Amy's the head of.
Was, not anymore.
Oh, you're not? Did you roll off? I didn't know that. Okay. Anyway, incredible partnerships and community formed along this trail and creek. There's some more photos out there. Boy Scouts are always working here, more volunteers. Look, there's Amy planting the tree right there. So let's go down memory lane and talk about when we first started exploring building a trail and accessing what we going for transportation funds. And this is back in '93, 3 years in a row. We, several of us, a planner and a landscape architect, knew that there was transportation federal dollars available to build trails. And so we talked the city of Homewood into applying for those. And for 3 years, we put an application in, and for 3 years we were rejected. But that didn't stop us. And at that point, what this map illustrates, we were envisioning a trail that goes from Irondale to Hoover. And we thought, well, maybe we're just casting our net too wide, and maybe we should narrow our focus to Homewood and just apply for funding right here. And that's what we did. And this solid red line illustrates what's built now, and this dotted line illustrates future phases. That's Michelle right there in the canoe, next to the canoe, and Randy Haddock. These are Henry's beautiful photos. So what happened back then? So for 3 years we applied for funding, we didn't get it. And then about that time, the Jefferson County consent decree came down with the creation of the Black Warrior Cahaba River Land Trust, now known as the Freshwater Land Trust. So that happened. And when that happened, Jefferson County was able to do a countywide Greenway master plan. And in that master plan, they identified a lot of potential trail connections. But in that master plan, they acknowledged that Shades Creek Greenway should have high priority. And since they ranked it that way, we became eligible for CMAQ funding, which is congestion mitigation and air quality funding from the federal transportation dollars. That was really huge because a lot of projects that we applied for in those days, we called it iced tea funding. You could only get like $400,000, and we all know $400,000 really doesn't go that far, especially when you're trying to build multiple miles of trail. But CMAQ funding opened us up to millions of dollars. And I believe at that point, it was something like $6 million that we had access to build this trail, which just blew our minds. We were so excited. And we just thought, this was the best thing. And we were moving forward with building this trail with that money. So the city of Homewood, one of the criteria to receive that money was to prepare a Greenway master plan, and we did that. The next drawing showed, this is an antique. This is when we used to draw stuff by hand on paper I know, it's hard to believe. And this actual drawing, I rendered that in Prismacolor back in the dark ages with colored pencil. It was just, is pretty amazing that we've got, we do everything digitally now on computer. So, but back then, this is how we did it. So just to show you, here is Brookwood Mall, and we're showing a connection to Jemison Park right here. And then we travel east, and this is actually right here where the actual trailhead starts. So you can see in the early days, we really wanted to connect up with Jemison Park, but Brookwood Mall, Colonial Properties at that time, did not see the value of bringing the trail across their property. I think in hindsight, they would say we made a mistake. But we're really good at hindsight. We were not able to connect, but that's, people are rethinking Brookwood Mall now. And so there is opportunity that we might be able to make that connection, right, Jennifer? She's muted, she's nodding yes. Okay. Also, there was another barrier at this point. To get under, to connect with Jemison, we can go under the bridge at 280. But AlDOT would not allow us to have the at-grade crossing at 280 on the east side. That was 25 years, over 20 years ago. I think it's time to revisit that. If we punch this trail, if the planets line up and we're able to bring the trail in front of Brookwood Mall and connect up with Jemison Park, it would be good to revisit that with AlDOT. Different people are there now, and they may say, sure, that's not a problem, that makes sense. So that's an opportunity. So coming east, the trail came along, and this is this flows as we know it. It goes all the way in front of the high school in Sanford, and all the way in front of the soccer fields, and then down to Columbiana Road, which is where that ends at phase 1. And then phase 2 goes under Columbiana Road, like I mentioned earlier, and then under 65. And it actually went further west than what the route shows now. Back in that day, we were going past the sewer environmental services and entering the west end of John Carroll's campus after the flyover, and then entering West Homewood Park. Not to bore you with all the details, but that since then, when we revisited with recent work, we changed that, and this is where it's coming up now. But that's just to show you historically, it was originally thought to come through here. So let's see. I want to go back to that. In hindsight, one thing that happened, Homewood decided to break this up into phases, 1, and then 2, and then 3, because there was an election coming up, and they wanted something on the ground, built on the ground for the election. And in hindsight, that was probably a mistake, because we didn't realize that the next administration would walk away from the funding and doing phase 2. So at that point, when this was under construction, we actually could have done the whole length and connect up with West Homewood Park. And, now I think how unfortunate that is, because at this moment, we would have that all in place. And we would be thinking about how to connect the trail up with Red Mountain Park. That would be our focus. But, hindsight's great. And, that's just one of those things. So, we move forward. One thing we didn't know when we were beginning this whole process and using transportation funds was that AlDOT are not enthusiastic about trails. They see themselves as highway builders, not trail builders. they think that's sort of a nuisance, and so they slow the process down and they make it difficult. And that's unfair to municipalities and counties and such, who put a lot of effort in making these projects happen. And when you get a project lasting over years, so many years, people lose their enthusiasm for it and their energy, and they walk away from it. Very similar to what happened here in Homewood with phase 2. It took another administration to come in, and they were enthusiastic. They were like, the trail is great. Let's go back to it. And this is something that Regional Planning Commission was very good to do. They reserved that CMAQ money, realizing that Homewood might do that they might come back to it. And I believe Bill Foisey, who was the director of Regional Planning Commission at that time, was responsible for that. So thank you, Bill Foisey. He lives in Montana right now, hiking all kinds of great trails. But he reserved that money for us, and we were able to come and get and access it later. So kudos to Regional Planning Commission. This picture I'd like to mention, this is my husband right here. They're standing behind Wildwood, where the lake is, in this area right here. That's when Neil had hair. This young man right here, that's Ian Ross, our youngest son. He's in his last year of law school. And here's our oldest son here, and his friend James Walk. That just shows you how long we've been working on this trail. So enter the Red Rock Trail Master Plan. This is work of the Freshwater Land Trust and the Health Department, understanding that people need to live active lifestyles and get out and have places to walk and run and cycle. And so they financed a Greenway master plan for the whole county. And this is a map of that. It represents 6 corridors throughout the county. All of them are riparian in nature. And the pink one is Shades Creek Greenway. And it was the only corridor that was already underway when this study was done in 2010. And here's a blow up of Shades Creek Greenway and what it looks like. And it goes from beyond Mountain Brook to Hoover and beyond. And then we address the Shades Creek icon, the salamander, in honor of the Friends of Shades Creek and how they have promoted the salamander with the festival. And it just made sense to use it as the trail icon. The Freshwater Land Trust is currently working right now on a family of signs to be used throughout the Red Rock system. And this design will be considered for that work, and the salamander for Shades Creek. Over 500 miles of trails were identified in the master plan, and that ranges from when our Greenway, when the Homewood Greenway is built, it'll be like 4.25 miles, but there's potential for it to go even longer, to be 24 miles if we go to Hoover in one direction and then Irondale in the other. And I have faith that eventually that we will expand it to that size. This is the Red Rock Trail System, all the a lot of the paths that are planned. The red, excuse me, the red is proposed. The solid green is completed trail. Blue is ongoing projects, and purple are stalled projects. And so you can see, you get a feel, here's the Greenway, Homewood Shades Creek Greenway right in here. And you get a feel for the connectivity that is proposed for this area. You know, if you just extend the Greenway, this blue section is that phase 2 that's about to happen, and then the connection with West Homewood Park right here. But how it could connect with Red Mountain Park, in the east, and then along the bottom of it too, there's two potential connections. But what great connectivity for the metropolitan area to have all of these routes. See, this is the high ore line right here that connects up with Red Mountain Park. And then Valley Creek Trail that comes through here and will eventually connect up with downtown and Railroad Park and Rotary Trail and Jones Valley Trail. Very exciting, all that connectivity and linkages. And you get a feel with this map where the Homewood Shades Creek Greenway how it fits into this whole system and what it's going to mean for the area. There are many things happening along the creek and trail. And Jennifer, would you like to share with us some of your projects with this? You've been very active and a big promoter and friend of the creek and the trail.
Well, thank you. And my dog's going crazy in the background, y'all. I'm sorry. It is a challenge. And Jacob, I just want to mention, I know I saw your comment about being disappointed about the phase 2 being delayed. And it is, I agree with you 100%. I will tell you that COVID and the divergent timing are the two reasons why that happened. We are the ones, this council of this past 4 years is the one that restarted the project that Jay mentioned. It was stalled. We are the ones that went out and got it started again with the help of GMC and Keith Strickland, and then also the Freshwater Land Trust. And there were some easement issues that, that nobody was addressing, that we all went out as a team and addressed and took care of it and got moving again. So it is disappointing. But I will tell you that we are committed to this, and I am committed to this. And, I'm serving for another 4 years, and this is going to be a very, we had to make cuts. It was unfortunate. And we are having a mid-year review in April, and I will commit to bringing that back to the table in April. But I did want to mention what we're doing here with the crosswalk at Lakeshore across at the Marriott. You can see this is Shades Creek Parkway right here across from where the Fresh Market is. And that connects up into the Hollywood neighborhood where the Shades Valley Y is, and this hotel here. And so that was an ALDOT project. Just to give you an idea how long things take with ALDOT, this crosswalk right here took 3 years. It took 3 years. Yeah. I can't, if you don't live in this world, it's hard to understand, and it's hard for me to understand. And Jane said it perfectly. They want to get cars places fast, period. That's their priority. So what we're trying to do is get you safely from either the YMCA or the Shades Creek Greenway over to Jemison. And so Mountain Brook put their sidewalks then coming from Jemison up to Windsor Drive, which is, the easternmost part of Homewood. Actually my street. I'm actually looking at Windsor Drive right now. And so at that intersection, ALDOT, it took a year, but it's still not in yet. So it's been a little over a year to get a crosswalk there. And we already had the stripes on the ground, and we already had the traffic light there. So that's taken a little over a year just to get a pedestrian light. So, it's just, it's just a crazy world. But so what we'll be able to do here is you can go from the Shades Creek Greenway across Brookwood, and then press the pedestrian button once that's installed, which we're in the process of engineering that now, and then cross over Windsor, and then cross over that crosswalk and pick up that sidewalk and take it all the way down to Jemison. So the top picture is a really fun project that we did last year that is ongoing, and that's the litter getter. And so that was another Freshwater Land Trust project that they brought to the city, and we took it and applied for a grant. And then Berkeley Squires, our head of public works, he's been such a great advocate, proponent working with us. And he said, I love this. And he bought one. So we have two. We have one that's here at Shades Creek, which is if you're at Target where the bus stop is, you just look down into the creek and you can see it. And then the other one is on Griffin Creek, which is at Broadway and Redfern. So that's, and I think, Jane, is anyone from Freshwater around here that can say I think it was 500 pounds a month. Is that what they've said they've been collecting? It was a
Something
amazing,
like that,
yeah, it's
yeah.
an amazing number. And every time it rains and it rises up with the creek, and then you just see all the trash in it, and they come out and collect. It's a service. It's an ongoing service. So that's been a fun project. And then this picture here of the runners, that's my friend Ann Stalvey right there. That's just from this past weekend. That was the BHM, which was, right now with COVID and Birmingham is not issuing any race permits at all. And so all the running events are really coming to Homewood right now, the ones that are still in person, and they've been on the Lakeshore Trail because it's less, they don't have to hire police officers to stop traffic. And so this was a half marathon here. So they did in fact go through the city of Homewood for the half marathon, but there was a 5K there too. So that's some of our friends running this past weekend. So that's all I have on those. Any questions about that? I'm happy to answer.
That's fantastic. Why don't you tell them about the eradication of the
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a really fun project too that Jane brought to me last summer, I think. And she had mentioned to me that they had been on the Jemison, on Shades Creek, on the Jemison Park section with a gentleman named Mark Thomas, who had a company called, Jane, Forestry something. I know Liz Roselle's on this call. I know she remembers seeing Mark on the trail. Anyway, on the Jemison section, they had done a complete clearing of the invasive species. And you have greater access to the creek. You can see it, visual access to the creek when you're on Jemison Trail. And so we want that same thing for us. And so, but we were so many years behind doing that. There was a lot of work that was going to have to be done up front. And so we sat down at the table with Jane, and Henry was there, and the HEC was there. And we did Sanford and the Homewood City Schools. And so it was I think it was, I'm sorry, all my numbers are not really, I want to say it was 55,000. That included the trees that we had to take down because there were so many. Mark had done Henry had done some preliminary to go out and see which trees were not going to make it. So we had to take a bunch of trees down. So it was a first year commitment. It was $55,000. And so what was so great about that project was that Sanford and the schools in the Homewood City, we all did it together, with the Friends of Shades Creek and with the Freshwater Land Trust guiding us. We all did that project together. Fiscally, we're all involved in it together because the high school was under construction. And so the whole point of that high school facing now on Lakeshore, we thought, wouldn't it be great if you could actually see the beautiful school that we were building? And so this is a 3-year project. We did our first year last fall. And as Jane would tell you, or as Henry would tell you, the best time to hit that invasive species is before that first frost hits. And so we need to get back out there right now. So Jane and I are going to talk about that tomorrow and get with Berkeley tomorrow about picking that up for the second year. And then, so it's a 3-year project, but Liz can tell you about, we saw Mark out there every day for, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks on his little, cart with his little backpack of the stuff he was spraying and the machete.
He was talking to everybody.
Oh, he loved it.
So many people. Pretty amazing.
He would send us a report this long. Yeah, he was great. So.
Yeah, well, that was so important because we've been looking to do that for many years. And so we really appreciate you, Jennifer, bringing that to fruition and allowing us to be able to achieve that. That's huge. And all this work, it's all about partnerships. And we have so many people that are involved on this trail and bringing it together and the protection of this creek. And so it's really just pretty amazing all that we are able to accomplish with tree planting, with Sanford and the HEC, and all these projects coming together. We just have to all work together. There's no single individual that can get it done. We all just have to work together. So it's fantastic that you are here and a champion of the trail. It really takes to have a council person that's a champion and push it forward. So many thanks. Do we have any questions, Michelle? I mean, I can't see the chat.
You do, Jane. Would you like me to read some of them for you?
Sure, yeah.
Is Amy there?
Amy's right here. Mhm.
The first question is there a flyer for the pumpkin sale available?
Oh my gosh. That's not a question for this presentation.
It is. It's right there. I'm going in chronological order. But you do have a flyer available. And the
And also,
apartments are
and
in
also-
Birmingham, not Homewood. Kristen Backergard asked, once construction on phase 2 starts, how long will it take?
Phase 2?
Phase
Ah.
2.
Yeah. I'd say it's probably 4 to 6 months.
Wow, that's pretty fast, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's, it's not, I may be optimistic, but it would be 4 to 6 months. Of course,
Jane,
it always depends on the weather.
Always. Is
When
there
we did
any
Home
need
Central
for,
Park, we had a monsoon happen, so when we were relocating the creek.
is there any need for eminent domain, or are you negotiating all those easements?
We have them all. Yeah, we have them all.
Jane, do you want to talk just a little bit about the getting all the easements and what a chore that was, what a job that was?
Jennifer, you want to address
Oh,
that?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was reading David Butler's question about the litter getter. David, I should have called you. I should have mentioned you when I was saying that, and I could have asked you that directly. I'm sorry, Michelle. What was the question?
The question is, now I've forgotten my question.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It was about the easement, wasn't
Can't do too
I was writing the email too, so I'm sorry.
it? Everybody's multitasking.
I'll think of it again in a second.
Wasn't it about the easements?
Oh, yes, yes. Can you speak to the issues about the easements and how difficult some of those were to get?
We got stuck up with the apartments, and that was just honestly, that was the thing that I'm just being honest with y'all. People weren't paying, people at the city I'm talking about, it was something that it was so easy to fix. And I'm sad that we went and fixed it. It was just some misunderstanding with one of the apartment owners, and he had something that he needed inspected, and he got cross with the city somehow. And he stopped talking to us, and Carolyn brought it back to us, and it was so easy to fix. Britt and I went out there, shook hands with the guy, talked to him, walked around the property. Wyatt looked at it, took 2 seconds, and he was fine. I mean, I just hate that that was something that's why I said that project had stalled for no reason, and we picked that project back up again. And so, that's not gonna happen again. It is not gonna stall again. I mean, it's a money issue, it's a COVID issue, it's a diverging diamond issue, but this project is not going to stall again. It is on the radar. It is going to happen. So anyway, Michelle, so the rest of that, I know, and Jane mentioned when she was showing the furthest western portion of the trail, we cut a little bit of that back. I think it was about a half mile off of that. And the reason why we did that was when we got back in there, we realized that Jefferson County had been using some of that property as an easement and it was going to take a lot more money, I think, to have that right, Jane, to build that back up. And we just felt like we could just kind of lop off that half mile.
Right.
And
You're talking about this area right here.
yeah, where my phone's doing that piece of.
That will be done with phase 3.
Yeah. So just to do phase 2, there was so much, I think that the county had come in and kind of torn it up so much that we felt like we could just make an easy cut right here and just end and that actually ends it closer to the apartment complex. It gives us a trailhead there, and it was an easy fix to do that. So
I have several questions about phase 2, if I could ask them.
Sure.
So you mentioned the apartments, and that's where a huge amount of flooding happens every once in a while. So are you having to do special things with the trail to keep it from being undermined or washing away or, being impacted by the large amount of flooding there at the old dam?
There was some shoring up in the design. Keith Strickland could speak better to that. He's not with us at the moment on this call. Yes, you're right, James. There was some shoring up that we had to do with the design, and that is being considered.
So also at the same spot, you have a dogleg that you're crossing the creek from the south side to the north side of the creek.
Right.
So where and how will that be done?
Well, it's this drawing's too small to show you here, but it's in that relative location right there. But I'd have to show you construction documents.
Well, what I'm asking is, will it be a new separate walking bridge?
It will be. Mhm. Yeah.
Because you have a bridge there already,
Yeah.
and you could add a walking spot onto it if you're bringing people up to the bridge level there. Or
Mhm.
so in other words, it's the old dam structure, the bridge. So you've got to get through that or over it.
Yeah. And initially we were using that, but we're not using that now, just because of the structural integrity. It's not what we needed. So.
Okay, an example of what you could do there, and you're right, the bridge is pretty old, 1914. But they just added at Flora Johnston Park, they just added a walking area onto the bridge that allows people to walk across the bridge that previously had no walking, just was a 2-lane bridge. So it's a nice example of bringing, adding on to the side of the bridge, the street bridge, and being able to get people from the parking over to Flora Johnston Park. So it's a nice example of that up at Elder Street.
Right, right. Well, with these documents, the construction documents are complete. The whole
Okay.
ready to go to bid. If we were to make a change on anything, it would add 6 months to it.
Sure. Yeah. So another question is down at the very western end of phase 2, the trailhead. You don't have any parking there now. Is there any reason why you didn't take it on up into the new apartment complex to have parking?
Are you talking about right here, James?
Yeah.
We are going to have parking here.
Oh, so you're going to clear some of those trees and have parking there.
Yes.
Okay.
Jane, we have a question earlier. Could you comment on the barriers to connecting the trail to Red Mountain Park,
The barriers?
other than lots of money needed?
Yeah. Well,
It's car accessible now, but it'd be great to have it completed all the way to Red Mountain
it would be
Park.
great. And that's our vision. That's what we'd love to do. We've been talking about it for years. There's 2 ways you could go. You could keep following the creek and then go through the front door of Red Mountain, or you can cross over Lakeshore here. We're going to have a flyover Lakeshore eventually, and then go through West Homewood Park, and then go through the park, and then there's enter via streets to the east end of Red Mountain Park. And I'd like to see both happen in time. Go to the front door and then go to that eastern door or eastern end. And it just takes.
Yeah, Henry, that eastern end would be probably Industrial Boulevard along there where my railroad signs are.
Right.
Would probably be that eastern end, I suspect.
Jane, a question about bike lanes in Homewood, other than the few hundred yards of unprotected bike lanes on Central Avenue and 1 crosswalk on Lakeshore Drive. Has there been any meaningful expansion of greenways or cycling lanes in Homewood for actual transportation for pedestrian use over 17 years?
Jennifer, you probably can speak to this, that with the improvements that are happening on Green Springs Avenue, bike lanes are included on that. And bike lanes are presently there now. Like when I ride the Shades Creek Greenway, I live up here in Edgewood, and I ride down to Salter and then over to Green Springs and then come down and get on the trail that way. So I utilize these bike lanes on the southern end of Green Springs. And, you know, with the entire length of Green Springs, having bike lanes would be super. And, you know, up here, let's see, I'm going to go back to that map that shows the freshwater, the Red Rock. Okay, this plan. Okay, here's the Greenway right here. And here's Green Springs here. You can see traveling up through here all the way to UAB eventually. That would be great. That and that's on Birmingham's radar. So that could be a partnership between Homewood and Birmingham to make that linkage. And then here is the Vulcan Trail right here, and it punches through to Green Springs now. So with the connection of the bike lanes going all the way up Green Springs, you can theoretically go from Homewood Shades Creek Greenway all the way up to Vulcan Trail, and then loop back down into downtown Homewood.
Just one comment. The litter getters have collected 500 pounds of trash over 2 months between all the sites. I guess there are multiple sites, and 50 pounds a month is a good average in normal times, but greater when we have significant rainfall. So David Butler wanted to mention that.
May I, along those lines, may I ask where the one in Bessemer is or is going to be? Will it be a Shades Creek watershed?
Anyone know that? I don't know.
I don't know that.
Jane, the plantings along the Greenway, is what we see there. I mean, there's a lot of ragweed, giant ragweed growing right now. Have those plants, for the most part, come in on their own, or were a significant number of them planted initially in 2003 or whenever that was completed? And then the question is, can we have more native shrubs and plants and flowers along the new portions of the Greenway?
You know, we would love that. We've always imagined the trail and along the creek there looking more like Jemison Trail looks like, with visibility to the creek and removal of invasives, and that's been the problem we've had in the past is, you know, we've had too many invasive plants along the creek, and they took foothold, and you know. A few years back, I know you remember this, Henry, you couldn't even see the creek. And we started with tree planting projects and cleanups, removing some of those invasives. And, you know, then we thought, you know, this is a daunting task. You know, we also got Alabama Power to help us at one point. This is a daunting task. We need to get somebody in that can do this wholesale and make it really make a dent in it. And that's with Thomas. Mark Thomas.
Will he be doing a follow-up this year, Jane and Jennifer?
Yeah, Jennifer and I were just talking about that, and we were following up with these Squires to do that, you know, repeat.
So rather than anyone cutting things down now, better to wait until Mark has an opportunity to work on that first. We've had some interest in eliminating some of the giant ragweed that's covering up vistas of the creek. And Berkeley said he's fine with it if we wanted to go forward with that. But sounds like it might be better wait for Mark to do what he's going to do first.
Well, let's talk, Henry, because Berkeley, let's talk tomorrow amongst all of us, because we don't know where we are with that. So we need to get a number from Mark, and we need to do it public tomorrow, right? I'm assuming, given that frost is probably coming in the next 3 weeks or so. So let's get together tomorrow on that.
Sort of like what we did last year. Remember we moved that quickly?
Yeah, we did.
And question about any thoughts given to repairing or repaving the buckling section of the existing trail between Old Highway 31 and New Highway 31?
That's right at the quarter-mile mark. I know exactly what Eric's talking about. I run by it all the time. Yeah, who's responsible for that? Is that Homewood? Or is that's us that needs to do that?
Which part is it?
It's right where the quarter-mile mark is. I don't know if you know this, Jane, but I mean, you probably know this, but somebody delightfully has gone out and marked it every quarter mile. And I mean that delightfully. I'm not saying that sarcastic, but I'm so happy. Us runners are so thrilled. We love it. He started right after you get off the bridge at Target. That's the start. And then every quarter mile, it's marked. And on one side, it says 0.25. And on the other side, it'll say 2.25. And then each quarter that you go, it'll say one way, how far it is to what we call the Green Springs end, and then how far it is back to the Target end. So you know either way you're going, how far you get to the end of the trail. So right at the quarter-mile mark, which is in between the Target end, what we call that on Montgomery Highway, there is a significant buckling of asphalt there. Is that a Homewood thing that we need? Is that a repair? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's add that to the list of things to talk about.
Hey, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's from roots from the trees and plantings along there.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense. Is that Andrew? This Councilor Wolverton.
It is, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, how you doing?
I realized who was on there. Okay. Well, Andrew, remind me to add that to my list of things to talk to Berkeley about. It's getting
Sure.
longer. As the call goes on, it gets longer.
And we need
Yeah.
to remove the shrubs there at the bridge at the high school. When you're coming up the ramp and you're about to get on the bridge, you
Yeah.
can't see people
True.
on the bridge, if there's some bikes coming around the
Mhm.
corner. So
Yeah.
there's always something.
Definitely.
For sure. So whether or not there's money for that, something.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. I know. Thank you.
Thanks.
We-
Jane?
We would all like to clean it up everywhere we can, but a couple of years ago, I pointed out that there were several joints on the bridge sections that were pretty abrupt and like 2 feet, or not 2 feet, 2 to 3 inches drop. And so thankfully our streets guys came out and patched that up with some asphalt. It's made it better for bikes and anybody that's on a wheelchair or anything like that. That was an easy repair. The other stuff we're talking about is a little bit harder.
So
Jane?
it looks like we have 3 council people with us, Jennifer, Andrew, and we also have Nick Sims.
Yes. Our newest council member.
Yeah. You want to say hello, Nick?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Hello, everyone. I'm just kind of joining and listening in. Thanks, Jane, for the presentation. It's really been beneficial for me to get the background. I mean, I'm aware of a lot of this through my work with Freshwater Land Trust and the Red Rock Trail Plan, but it's good to get the specifics on phase 2. Also, sorry for my apologies in the chat. I was trying to post the flyer to the Sims Garden fundraiser, but I don't think you
Oh, well.
can actually post the picture. I guess it doesn't, at least it didn't come through on my end, but thanks for the presentation, and I can't.
Hey, Dick, why don't you ask Berkeley about repaving that section for us? Just kidding.
Day 1, November 2nd.
Tag, you're it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and there is a question about this flyer for the Sims Garden that was sent out on Monday, but I can send that out to everyone again tomorrow, just as a reminder. So everyone will come get their mums and pumpkins over at the Sims Garden.
There's some other celebrities on the call. Marjorie White is with us, responsible for publishing the book about Shades Creek, and Birgit Kabelka, who also participated on that book. Hey, Birgit.
I've wanted to meet her.
She's right there.
Oh, cool. She's the mapping genius.
Yeah. I almost emailed you, Birgit, to get some maps when I was setting up this presentation.
And Birgit, I meant to apologize to you. Can you hear me? Birgit?
I think she can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. I thought the creek cleanup was a Xylem event. And when I talked to you all at Marty Schulman's gathering, I failed to say thank you to you. I didn't realize it was a family event. I thought it was a corporate event. So that was great of you all to get out and do a family cleanup on Shades Creek.
We
So,
and
thanks.
Grant Gentry is also out there, and he had one of his classes work on doing a cleanup for Friends of Shades Creek. So that was last weekend, I believe, right, Grant? Maybe he's not with us now, but he was with us earlier.
I saw
Yeah,
his
he's
name.
here.
Yeah,
No, I'm
there's-
here. I don't know if my mic's working.
It's
Yeah,
working.
I got a bunch of students out there. We had like 23 students come out and, take out privet and kudzu and Japanese hops that was just smothering up all the plantings at that restoration area. So it was great. It was a great response by the students. They all came out.
That's great, Grant. We really appreciate that. Really good. So, and I know we have some other people out there tonight that have helped us with cleanups, and we appreciate you folks too. I know Olivia and her team worked on a site, and I'm looking at my list here. Larry Pritchett helped us, and I probably shouldn't have started this because I'm going to forget somebody. Chris Underwood's been working on removing some of the vegetation, the vines and stuff. And like I said, I probably shouldn't have started naming, so I probably forgot somebody, but we appreciate all of you.
Paul Brown put a group together, Michelle,
Oh yes, Paul Brown.
on Furnace Creek,
Yes.
tributary in Mountain Brook.
Do we have any other questions?
I think that's it as far as what I can tell, Michelle.
Okay, somebody David Butler just wrote that the Bessemer litter getter is on Valley Creek, not Shades Creek.
Thanks.
Well, we appreciate everyone being here tonight on our virtual meeting. And according to my list, we've had 29 people here tonight. So that's outstanding. So I think that's a credit to you, Jane and Jennifer, for having this meeting. And people want to get information and want to be informed what's going on in Homewood. And especially, I think the walking, biking, and recreational trails is one of the things that we need to keep talking about. So thank you for your support on those. Thank you, Jane, for being a longtime resident and a longtime promoter of trails.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. And thank you, Jennifer, for
Pleasure.
joining us today. And everything.
Okay, one of my favorite topics. Always happy to talk about it.
Thank you all for being here and have a good night.
Great meeting.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was great, Jane. And oh, Amy, thank you so much. And
Welcome, no worries. I just
all it takes is one little thing to get us messed up, and you fixed it for us.
go to that one where you can see everything. We're just trying to figure out how to leave the presentation now.
Okay. Well, maybe on my part, maybe I need to do it. But I'll send out your flyer again tomorrow, because maybe I'll bring people over the weekend.
Yeah, thank you so much. Who was it that asked about the flyer?
Let's see. Let me look.
Oh, Nick.
David Butler.
Oh, I think he was trying to post it, wasn't he? He was
Yeah.
just trying to share it.
Yeah, I'll send it out again, because people will be more likely to come, I think, over the weekend.
If you hover over those little dots. Stop video. There you go. Well, that stops the video. Well, we're here. Do you want to talk about anything else?
All right, well, I'll see if I can close it. I can end it here.
Okay.